Hello again, everybody. I'm Tom from Binge.com. This is Matt from Genova Burns. We're on the Genova Burns podcast series. We're talking NIL. We're talking legal issues. I've got a great one for you. Every kid's dream, every parent's dream is to get that college scholarship and get that NIL deal. How important is it now to not just have mom and dad at the signing table, but to have a lawyer to make sure everything's buttoned up? Because some people are going to pull a fast one with the recruits. They're going to promise them A, they're going to get B, and they're going to say, that's what you signed. For the legal profession, how much do they need to be there when these kids sign these letters of intent and NIL deals?
That is a very good question. And I do think it is important to have a lawyer present if it's at all possible. And look, I think the reality of this is that it won't be possible for everybody. But even if it's just mom and dad at the table, mom and dad should know that they need to look at the contracts. They need to read every single provision. They need to make sure that they know what the deal is that they're entering into, that their child is entering into. So, for example, it might be the case that a kid signs a contract that is backloaded, that doesn't provide most of the pay until after the transfer window is closed. And there might be some back and forth with that, right? You might have some back and forth with the school about that. Maybe the school says, look, that's how we have to do it because we have to make sure that we don't give everybody, their funds. And then, the next thing we hear is you're entering the transfer portal. But at the very least, if you do go ahead and sign that contract, at the very least, you know what the deal is and you know what you're getting into. And if you're going to sign that contract and go to that school, then you're going to have to stick with it through the transfer window. But it is extremely helpful to have a lawyer present, to have someone who has experience reading contracts. One of the general pieces of advice that I try to give to people who ask me, do I need a lawyer here? Do I need a lawyer there? I usually say that it's almost always cheaper to ask a lawyer to look at something beforehand than it is to ask a lawyer after the dispute has arisen and all of a sudden you're out thousands of dollars or so. But I do think it's important to have someone there with you who can read the entire contract, understand what it says, and just as a quick example, a lot of contracts have something called a merger clause, which says that this is the entire contract, this is the entire agreement. The entire agreement is within the four corners of this document. And you're not relying on any verbal representations, any oral representations that were previously made. So I could see, a college coach says, look, I'm going to give you X, I'm going to give you Y, I'm going to give you Z, I'm going to promise you the moon and the stars. Just sign this contract. I know the contract only says that we're going to give you, a couple $1,000s. But, look, I'm good for it. And the kid signs, and if that contract has a merger clause, that kid might be out in the cold, right? With his $1,000, wondering what happened to the moon and the stars that were promised him.
There you go, kids. Practice your craft, hit the weight room, hire a lawyer. That's it for us.